Hello, Captains. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, USS Endeavor. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another Russian heavy cruiser, but this time a premium that actually was a campaign reward ship a little while back, and one that is brought to you by one of my subscribers. They know who they are. Had asked for a review and a look at the Kronshtadt, because they just got it from this last Christmas update where a lot of people got a whole bunch of brand new ships into their port from the different crates that they opened and bought. And just as a quick side note, if any of you have gotten new ships that are a part of my community that would just like to see how I play it, or if you just want to know a little bit more about it, I'd be happy to do one for you as long as I've got the ship myself. Just leave it in the comment below, and I will gladly do that for you. So without further ado, let's look at this ship in its entirety, starting with the commander. Looks like we're back with Kuznetsov. A lot of things are going to be similar. We just finished up the alternate Russian cruiser line, and this was pretty much the main commander that I used, and I'm going to keep the same build just for consistency's sake, and it works well with this ship. As you'll see, there's a lot of similarities between the line and this ship itself. But starting with the mod slots, aiming systems mod 1 in the first to help with our accuracy, propulsion mod in the second, and concealment mod in the third. Lastly, we decided to go with the main battery mod 3, the epic modification that helps with our reload time after every 30,000 damage, which has a total stacks of 5. So that really helps with our reload throughout the game. Now, one stat line that I seem to gloss over quite a bit, and I think I need to pay more attention to it, is the damage control party. One, because you have an unlimited supply, and every ship pretty much has one, and it kind of goes overlooked, but the reload time is different for each ship, and the duration. So I think I'm going to start going over that a little bit more. The last thing you want to do is be flippant with your damage control parties, and so for that purpose, the reload is 55 seconds, and it lasts only for 5 seconds. Why I believe it's important to bring that up is because during that 5 seconds, you are immune from being set on fire and taking floods. And you have to understand that in this particular ship, you got a minute before you can use it again. On to the other, you have radar, which is the exact same as the other ones from the Riga on up, and it's at the same range with the same duration at 21 seconds. You do have 3 repairs that really help with this ship. It's already got a generous health pool, and the heals are going to make it even bigger. And lastly, in the last slot, you got the catapult fighter, which is something that you don't usually get, but the Kronshtadt has it. Onto the survivability, which is probably one of the biggest differences between this ship and the other cruisers that we just went over, is that the health is very generous at 71,050. With a 25% torpedo damage reduction. We will look at the armor at the end. But this ship, in my opinion, definitely needs the health because the armor is a little different from the other ones you're probably used to. The artillery at tier 8 compared to the Petropavlovsk, this is equipped with 305 millimeter shells, which is the same as the Stalingrad. Different shell characteristics, though, and that the accuracy is a little worse. And you'll see that as the game goes on. I'll try to point that out. 19-kilometer range, 15.7 second reload, which will get better as the game goes on because of our epic mod. And again, almost 10,000 AP shell damage, which is very similar to the Stalingrad. Your AA defense is actually not all that fantastic. It's almost a 60 rating that starts at 5 kilometers. But this thing is not really known for its AA defense. It actually suffers in that department for the most part. It's not something that I would put a lot of stock in to protect you over the course of the game. Maneuverability, when you've gotten used to really, really bad turning circle radiuses, I'm not saying 840 meters is a good number, but when you were just playing a turning circle radius in the Stalingrad that has over 1100, this thing actually feels like it turns pretty good. Even though the 840 meters is still not that great from a cruiser standpoint. The concealment with the build that we have has actually dropped the concealment by range by sea by less than 12 kilometers. It's essentially 11.9 for all intents and purposes. And by air, 7.5 kilometers. and 11.4 if you ever fired from smoke. So the concealment's actually not too bad in this. Now onto the armor, and I gotta be honest, the armor on this thing is a little strange. When I first saw it, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. You do have a 25 millimeter nose, no icebreaker like the Petropavlos has, and this section right here, 21 millimeters at the top on the deck of the nose, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You can definitely get punched through on your nose. Your upper deck has 27 millimeters, so 15-inch shells will bounce if angled appropriately. Same with the upper casemate, which is actually more of an auxiliary room than a casemate. If you take that away, this is your casemate, which is a lot thicker grade of armor, which can bounce and is a big protection from your Citadel, which is what you're looking at right here. Your Citadel is really shaped strange. It's got a thinner section, and right across in front of the front turret and behind the back turret, it extends that far. I'm going to give you a different angle to kind of see it. As you can see, the shape of it is odd, but it is got those very lightly armored sections that can be punched through the nose. So be aware of that. Lastly, looking at your superstructure, it can be chunked through. So always got to be aware of that. Alrighty, captains. Here we are on the map Warrior's Path. Unfortunately, it's a capture the base mode. I never like these modes, but we're going to do the best that we can. And as you can see on the team, we're basically in a legendary lobby. We're one of the few tier 8s that has been sprinkled in here. So right off the rip, we're kind of at a disadvantage. And that is the one thing about this ship that I've noticed. It doesn't really hold very well against legendary ships, because a lot of the ships that you're going to be going up against, the battleship shells they're going to be able to punch through your bow. And because of how lightly armored your actual bow is and stern, you're just not going to be able, you can't stay nose in. You have to kind of keep an angle, because your side plating is strong enough to bounce those AP shells. The upper part of that, the very top part of the deck, is not going to, it's going to sustain damage from 16-inch shells. And you're going to take fire damage pretty well, or you're not going to take it very well. Other ships are going to be able to hit you well with fire damage because of that. Now on to the game itself. I am positioning myself over here, and lo and behold, hey, there's a Colombo, which actually has 15-inch shells. And as I see that, I turn out and slow down, as you can see, and I make his entire salvo whiff. It's always a great feeling whenever you can make that happen. But I usually do that. I was kind of preparing for that. The firing angles on this ship are actually still pretty darn good, as a Donskoy now shows up. And again, with the Colombo having 15-inch shells, they've got 16 of them. So you got to be aware of that. But we can, if we angle appropriately, bounce most of those, as long as he doesn't hit us on the nose, or in the superstructure. He can chunk us pretty good, which is why we take a nasty hit right there from him. But we're going to heal that back, and then with our back turret, we're going to shoot this Donskoy that's way out there. And again, the penetration of these, as long as you're on target, is still enough to Citadel ships from even that far range. So always be aware of that. But because we have no objectives, and again, this is one of the downsides of capture the base, there's no point in pushing out there. I can't really go toe-to-toe against a Colombo anyway, or a Donskoy. Both of them definitely not. We do have the support of the Worcester over here, and I can't remember what the other cruiser is. I think it might be a Minotaur that is on this side, but not really something that you want to push into, so we don't. We're going to kind of backpedal a little bit here. Yes, it is a Minotaur, and he almost got whacked. Surprised he didn't. But we're going to play it patient. If you saw the Riga video, and one of the things that you kind of have to learn with these ships is that they're kind of, it's not that they're slow. They are cumbersome because of their turning circle radiuses. And in this particular game mode, it's not wise to push out unnecessarily this early on in the match. Mid-game, as the game progresses on, if the game dictates that you have to be aggressive, then play that way. But because we don't need to unnecessarily throw our ship away at the beginning of the game, let's not do so. Here the Yamato kind of shows up. We take a shot at. And now the one thing about the Kronshtadt specifically that I've noticed is that it does not have cruiser dispersion. It has more battleship dispersion, which makes the accuracy, even in this cruiser, it doesn't feel like a cruiser. It has more of battleship style characteristics to it, which is one of the reasons why I'm not as fond of the Kronshtadt. I'm not saying it's a bad ship. It's just something that you got to understand. You'll have shots that are dead on, and you'll have shots that are spread really, really well. Like all three of those shots hit, and we got a pretty good amount of damage from that as we get our first stack to our epic mod, reducing our reload by a little bit. But overall, the accuracy in this thing is it's not the best. It's not the most accurate. It's not like the Petro. The Petro has really accurate guns. They reload a little bit faster. They are smaller caliber, but their penetration is so good that it still hits and smacks like a battleship would. And these shells still smack too. I mean, they're 305s. They're the same as the Stalingrad, but the accuracy doesn't feel like the Stalingrad. Thankfully, the Colombo goes down. Unfortunately, we did lose our Worcester that was over here. He was low enough that the Colombo decided to focus him instead of us. And now we have kind of a choice that we got to make. I don't want to push myself too far out here, and I feel like at this point I kind of have. So I need to turn around. I need to get back, and I need to start making myself a little bit more of a viable player, as the teams are still even. As we just lost one of our ships. They've lost 3. We've lost 3. And the only other ship that was over here was the Donskoy. And so we need to push back in. This Yamato over here could be a problem, and I am aware of that. He can definitely overmatch me. But if I were to show the right amount of angle, I could potentially bounce a lot of his shells if he aimed right at the waterline at my midship. We are now into what I would consider the midpoint of the game. And this is where your team either falls apart or it rises to the challenge and wins the day, in my opinion. So at the very beginning of the game, you kind of want to establish, especially in a capture the base mode, you have no idea what players are going to do. There are no objective points except for your own home base. And so teams could clump up. They could spread apart. One side could be overwhelmed. You just don't know. So that's why it's never advisable to really push out, especially in a ship like this. I mean, if you're in a destroyer, then I would absolutely say, yes, you need to go and you need to spot. But there's only one destroyer per side. And oddly enough, both of them are still alive at this point. So the thing that I was thinking about at this point of the game was the Yamato that was out here. He largely wasn't focusing us. I don't even know if he knew we were even here. As you can see, that bearing indicator keeps jogging closer and closer to the edge of this island. And lo and behold, it is the Yamato. And he is flat broadside to me. And this is where our shells really shine. And the Yamato, having not paid attention, I'm guessing, to where we were. This play by us is we're really gonna make this Yamato pay. After that first shot, we took nearly half of his life, and there we take another huge chunk off of him, as we're just getting citadel after citadel on this guy. And now he's popped his accuracy plane to shoot at us. He does hit us a little bit, but not nearly as hard as we're hitting him. We angled appropriately. We really took away a lot of the damage that he could have done on us. And can we get another salvo? We're going to aim for the cheek, which is a vulnerable spot of the Yamato. And we do punch through that, and he is gone. So that is a huge, huge win on us, and a little bit of a misplay on the Yamato. I don't know if he just wasn't paying attention, or he just flat out had no clue I was there. Otherwise, he would not have made that play. But because of that one encounter that we had, we've gotten our epic mod stacked up to 4 times. So we are 8% better on our reload now which is definitely going to help us throughout the rest of this game. Our destroyer on our team pushed into their cap and made all of the red ships basically turn around and head back to the cap, which was a good play on his part. He definitely helped with the score. He was sitting in their cap for a while, which definitely forced all of the reds to kind of retreat and go back, which was a great move on his part. But now he is being hunted by the Minotaur and the Donskoy, and I'm trying to tell him that we need to support him, and he does need to get back, but I think he's at that point where he's not going to be able to escape, and unfortunately he goes down. But through that play, he definitely helped turn the tide a little bit in our favor. And we are slightly ahead on the score because of that. Here I popped my radar just because I wasn't sure where the destroyer was, but as you can see, he's right there, right in front of us. We ping him for the rest of our team, and unfortunately, a late game destroyer that has as much health as the Holland has is a problem. The Donskoy also has radar as well and could be a problem, but for me, the biggest issue is that Holland. And because we are winning, the Holland is, his only winning play is either to take us out or to potentially make a run on our cap itself. But we know kind of where he is. Unfortunately, our radar goes down and we have no real way to spot him until we get our radar back, which is over 2 minutes away. Here we get spotted. We know it's the Holland. We're behind the island. The Minotaur and the Donskoy don't have visual line of sight of us, so it has to be the Holland. He's right off our nose, and it's this point that I realize he's going to try and make a play for the cap. Thankfully, though, we have a battleship that's out there that is in a position that if the Holland gets a little too close to him, he will spot him for us. Now, I wish I want to go out there and I want to spot, but I have a feeling that torpedoes from the Holland could be coming our way. And here our Kronshtadt is asking for support. He does make that mistake, the Holland does, in coming out in front of that battleship. He gets spotted, but now he leaks his way around the island and now goes unspotted. We were able to get a hit on him, and hopefully he makes another mistake and he can get lit up again for us to do it. He does, and so we're going to take another shot out at him, trying to get our turrets around. We let him fly, and boom, he goes down, and that really helps our chances at winning this game. We almost are at the final stack of our reload to max out our epic mods. The Minotaur is out there in smoke. He is trying to shoot, and we're going to take a blind fire shot right at him. Again, if you're going to make these shots in your smoke, then you're kind of asking for a blind fire. But look at that dispersion. That's that's this ship. If I could paint a picture of just how not accurate this ship is at times, obviously we don't have anybody targeted. It was a blind fire, but that is a great look at how inaccurate these shells really are. It's battleship dispersion in a cruiser. So keep that in mind. It's definitely a lot more reliable when you are targeting something and getting that accuracy bonus because of it. So at this point, they have to kill us, and there's not a lot of time left on the clock for them to do that. The Donskoy is out there. There he finally gets spotted, and they're really not. I don't know why the Donskoy is running away. I guess he's just kind of surrendering to the fact that they're not gonna win. I don't know. If it were me, I would try. I mean, why not? What's the worst that could happen? You lose. Go down swinging is the way I would play it. Here we pop our radar because if you see on the last known, the Minotaur's out here somewhere. But the closest ship looks like it's the Donskoy, which was off of our right. And you can see where he's at. So to be honest, I don't know where the Minotaur went. Both ships look like they're kind of bugging out. And there, the bearing locator flips to the left. And now we finally get spotted. So he's definitely within our detection ring, and unfortunately we used our last radar, so we can't spot him. At this point, I just got to kind of hope that he's going to take a shot at me. We slow down a little bit because the Donskoy is going to start taking shots at us. It really doesn't matter at this point. We've got so much health that it's not an issue whether he's going to sink us. He would get defend ribbons on us if he hit us. And there, finally, the Minotaur pops up. So we're going to take a shot at him. I mean, again, he not really have any other choice at this point, and I really thought we had him taken out. There, having that shot of the Minotaur does give us our high caliber. He smokes up, and the rest of our team decides to shoot at him, and we're going to be pretty successful in getting some good blind fire hits. There's a hit right there from our friendly player who hit him in his smoke. We're going to take a shot with our back turret, and unfortunately we missed, but he just keeps peppering us, and we're going to keep blind firing right at him, and thankfully we start connecting, and our entire team actually is doing a good job at hitting him in the smoke. We hit him again, and he's taking a lot of damage. I could have swore he would have been dead at this point, but unfortunately it's not enough to make him go down. But I gotta be honest, I wasn't sure exactly how much health he had left, but he was getting hit pretty good in the smoke. There we take top in the leaderboard. Don't quite reach 3,000, but in this game mode, you're not going to get nearly as much XP because there are no caps to get. But I was just curious. I had to ask him, so I sent him a message. I said, "How much HP do you have left?" And he told me I only had 185, which was kind of funny. But GG's all around. He was thanking me. I thanked him. It was a good game, and so that's a look at the Kronshtadt. So for the individual, they know who they are. For asking how I play on the Kronshtadt and how it performs, I think it's a good ship. It's not the best one out there. I think it's a decent mix between the shell characteristics of the Stalingrad, but unfortunately you get battleship dispersion. So take that for what it is, but a good ship nonetheless. Anyway, if you have any other ships that you want me to take a look at, again, leave it down in the comment section below. If I've got the ship, I'll be happy to review it and take a look at it for you in the way that I play it. But until then, thank you, captains, for tuning in. This is the USS Endeavor, signing off.